what you call Morocco, the kingdom. You understand? Kingdom is subordinate to empire. That area, just that part, was called Africanus, after Scipio, the god general. All right? Who's given the honor for defeating the great Moors. They weren't totally defeated. That was that area. All right? Now you got to also look at these. I'm giving you different points of history so that you can look into them and see yourself and see the motives of how you got where you are. Because this is important in order for any suits that you may place in any court of law in the world and in this United States, so it can be totally valid. All right? So these Moors became known as Africans, and a lot of Moors even today thinking that they're going back to their bloodlines, talking about we're Africans. Well, they're not Africans. They're Moors. All right? Is that clear? The word Africa comes from Scipio Africanus, the Roman general who the Moors, who capitulated, made him their god. All right? So in order to honor their god, they called themselves after their god, Africans. Just like the Moors in the modern time honor their god and give him the title that belonged originally to us, white man. Call him the Great White Father and call him God, and they put his name on their children as a curse and a title of possession, Smith, Jones, Johnson, and Whoopi Goldberg. Do you understand? Because he's their God. They will not buy, they will not sell, they will not move, they will not breathe unless they pay their God first, and they get angry at you if you bring it to them just like that. So you got to allow them their dignity so they don't burn your house down. That's the mentality of a Negro, a nigger, a colored person. A being that's outside of the human family that commands dignity. And the world sees us that way until we honor our mothers and fathers who were Moabites, Moors. We don't see ourselves that way because of our arrogance and our self-righteousness. However, at law, you have no standing. So these are keys that are important to understand when you play suits. Because if you play suit in a fraudulent position, the suit really has no jurisdiction. No power in the jurisdiction, because it's subordinate to one who owns it. It, not you, it. Because Negro, black, and colored was coined by the European sons in order to distinguish human chattel property from the human family who had national names like every other civilized being. Then what happened, we adopted these things and then tried to impose it on the civilized world, get rejected, and accuse them of prejudice. So the real deal is that we're both in violation of law. And so we have to get out of the culture of playing victim, and he has to get out of the culture of his corrupt superiority when he's a fraud and a substitute in both law and government. But we have both of us have fallen in love with the lie. Do you understand? So now what we have to do is begin to systematically bring the correct information so that when, as Moors become conscious and they get repressed by the corporations, which is substituting as the government, that they have some redress, some method of redress, even though ultimately the fall will come from their own corruption. Meanwhile, it's sort of like you got to learn to live within the contracts. And so these are things that we're talking about. So keep these things in mind because it's very important when it comes to the point of protecting your Moorish birthright. If you're forced to sue, that you be in your proper person, which is also why Drew Ali reminded the Moors before this thing even came, when this thing fell all apart, he says, if you don't do anything else, declare your nationality, be yourselves. Of course, you all know, those of you who know law, know that being yourself in law is in propria persona sui juris. All right? So when you see that, you know that that's being yourself. The other thing that you'll notice that in the corporate and colorable courts, that very often if you file a suit, etc., they'll put in there on it pro se, if you're dealing with it yourself. And then you might see the magistrate say to you that the pro se and the impropriate persona is the same thing. It's a lie. Impropriate persona sui juris is your own proper person. And in truth, you only have standing at law when you're in your proper person. These are reasons that Drew Ali set those things up, because he knew it was coming, but he also knew we was hard-headed. And he also knew we wasn't going to listen, that we were going to play with the emotions and go start following people who were telling you this was religion when it's the return of your birthright, and you'd be confused because we're dedicated people means that we always looking for something to worship. Oh, there's a mic. So I'm converting from this camera, and next week, now the mic is God. Has no ears to hear, no heart to sympathize, no reasoning power, and then when it fails, now it's the flag. And this is what we've done. This is what dedication means. Do you understand? So people have the wrong concept of Allah, of Yeshua, the prophets, Jesus, all of their concepts are totally wrong. These were liberators. They were social reformers. They dealt with civilization law and principles of what? Isonomy. And that principle is ancient. And that principle is symbolized by a compass and a square. And that symbolized Moore's law. And it's ancient, it's not modern, even though some organizations may use it and claim it's yours. And isonomy means equal rights and equal justice in the society. The United States Republic, North America, was founded on the principle of isonomy. And every European son that's presented to you in history as a main key in the foundation of this government was 3rd, 33rd, 360-degree free Moorish master masons in secret. Do you understand that? That goes for Jefferson, Adams, Washington, Franklin, etc., etc., etc. And they got a fez too. You understand? The reason the United States Republic North America was established, again, coming back where I started, was to stop the series of wars between the Romans and the Moors. Do you understand that? They have you thinking that this republic was started because of some religious freedom from England. Well, I'll tell you that the Danes of England were Moors. All right? And the monarchy that they talked about is simply the constitutional governing power being vested in sultans, etc., or in single person. It is the most correct form of government, except if it gets corrupt, it goes absolutely opposite. That monarchy form of government was transferred on what you call the people's scale for the United States of America. Most people don't know that the three branches of government is really the monarchy spread out. The government set in the form of recognizing the birthright of the people. And is based in divine and cosmological law. And the deal with it is, and a lot of people are not aware of this, even people in government, yeah, they are, because they're told that, truthfully, because they learned it in their secret societies. But as far as the masses are concerned, is that because it is based in divine law, the consequence of violating the Constitution, the retort, the recompense, the revenge is based in nature, not in you. So if they violate the law, you violate the law, constitutional law, it's already set in the atmosphere. So you can play games all you want to. That's what makes the United States really so unique, not what they've been telling you. Because this government was set up on the principle of isonomy. And that is divine law. And the keys to it is set up also in the Declaration of Independence. Nature's God and nature's law. And don't you think it's not. But the warning ad was put out with Noble Drew Ali that if these rules, if these principles were not enforced, that the worst was yet to come. I'm going to read from the latest paper, because one of the things I did in the latest paper, you all have the latest paper? The Prophet Noble Drew Ali? The Moorish Divine National Movement, Part 1. All right, we're going to read the centerfold. And I want you to recognize what's in here, then analyze it, and deal with what you're dealing with today. And then we're going to break it down and talk about some things then later